Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here is your host, Father Jay Friedel.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Sunday morning of Faith in Our Hometown, our weekly conversation with each other about things that matter to us in the Joplin area, and especially for those of us who call ourselves people of faith. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the holidays that we're having and sometimes the stress that can come from that. Because let's face it, as I'm fond of saying to my own people, we like to think of ourselves as all being the Hallmark Channel, but we're usually more like the Addams Family or the Munsters. It's just kind of the way it works during a holiday. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how do we survive all that with each other? How do we put our best foot forward? How do we manage some of that comes to us? Because our expectations get really high. And then all of a sudden we got to contend with the reality that is life. So we're going to be right back. My guest is going to be Ann Leach, and Ann's going to talk to us. She's a life coach, so she's going to coach us a little bit on how to maybe do some of those things. And so we're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute. Grab that cup of coffee, settle in, and then we're going to be right back.
It was silly to be so dreading it so much because it was really no big deal. There was no pain afterwards. I was really, really hungry, so I got to have whatever I wanted to have for lunch. But the rest of the day I just slept, and there was no pain, and went to work the next day. Every day that I opened up my refrigerator and saw that referral on my refrigerator, I just dreaded having to go through it. And now I just kind of laugh about it because it was no big deal. And knowing it's behind me, I just don't have to worry about it. Well, my husband and I, we do a lot of riding, and we kind of cram everything into the weekends. But eventually, we'd like to, once we retire, we want to be able to go on vacations on our bikes and go riding on weekends a lot more. So we have a lot to look forward to.
Well, again, thanks for joining us for another Sunday morning of Faith in Our Hometown. My guest this morning, Ann Leach. Ann is a life coach. She's going to talk to us a little bit about how do we survive these holidays in good form. So, Ann, first tell us a little bit about yourself, since most of our viewers won't know you.
Yes.
And then let's talk about how do we handle stress during the holidays.
Right. Well, good morning. Thank you for having me. I am a life coach. I'm also a part-time therapist in town, and I specialize in grief and loss, which, as you know, is quite prevalent at this time of year. And so I've been thinking a lot about this stress situation, and I kind of laugh because I think we've known these days were coming for a whole year, right? They've been coming for thousands of years.
It seems to come year after year.
So why do we have stress about it? And I think you touched on it just in your introduction, the expectation, right?
Yeah. We want it to be the Hallmark card.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So as you talk to people, what are some of the things that you hear that are particularly causing them stress at this time of year?
Well, I mean, I think that some people are just like, I just want a Christmas that's stress-free and, peaceful. And it's just, and my sister, who's always on my nerves, is still on my nerves. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it's just like, well, I say things like, well, I mean, you say that she's always this way, then why did you expect it to be different just because it's Christmas?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the way I
would agree.
As one of my friends, my mom was a counselor, and I got several friends who are therapists, and they usually refer to my style of therapy as that rip your face off and hand it back to you kind of, response. So, I mean, that's why I said, why did you expect this was going to be different? So,
exactly, yeah. And I think that that's really important to get clear on how we would like it to be, but then also be a little more practical, especially this year in these odd times, right?
Well, Christmas in time of plague is going to be Christmas in time of plague. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And we got a couple weeks to go before we get there, but it's just going to be, and like I say, anything that was just a little out of kilter is now really out of kilter.
Yes.
And so I think everybody ought to buckle in because I think that the holidays are going to be a little bit maybe more trying than normal even.
Yes. So for me, I think to really get in touch with that inner spirit, that guidance that comes from within, and to really be the light in this dark time, right? And we can do that any day. It doesn't just have to be a special occasion, but how can we discern what is ours to do, right? How can we share that light with others? I love thinking outside the box, and so in terms of gifts and that sort of thing, this year what I'm doing is I'm taking the money that I budgeted for gifts, and instead of spending it on the people I had in mind, I'm actually going to share it with people that have been of great service to me throughout the year. I think that element of surprise, they won't expect it, but that's the joy of giving, right? Yeah. So maybe looking at how we can express that light a little bit differently this year.
I think one of the challenges, I mean, you know, as my family, most of my immediate family's gone, so those that I would celebrate Christmas with, and my other friends and stuff, is just we kind of agreed, let's just spend time together, and the money that we're going to spend when we're spending the time together, and let's let that be. And so a lot of the money that I can now put to other projects, to folks. I mean, right now there's a lot of people, because of this downturn that we're all experiencing because of the plague, that are just going to have, they're going to struggle to have you know, anywhere near a normal Christmas. And so, you know, sometimes that can go to making sure people get fed, and, you know, that there's a little something for people to celebrate with. You know, I just kind of spread it out a little differently this year too.
Exactly, yes. One of the most successful holiday seasons I ever had was many years ago, as I was just starting my career and money was tight. And we were all very busy, of course. And I just made a list of friends that I hadn't had a lot of contact with. And I said, how about this year, instead of gifts, we schedule an hour on a Saturday for a phone conversation. And I mean, they loved it. They still talk about it to this day. So the gift of our time and our spirit can mean a lot.
And you share that with people, because I mean, isn't that what all the rest of it's about anyway? I mean, you know, I mean, some of our most classic stories, you know, the O. Henry, you know, the gift of the Magi, you know, where we're just, you know, they're trying to, you know, get themselves to do something for the other one, and because they're both worried more about the other one's happiness, you know, they kind of crisscross in the middle of it, but you still see the love that was there, which was the purpose in the first place.
That's right. So what is your favorite part of the Christmas story?
You mean of the Christmas story, as in the Jesus Christ coming to earth? Yeah. You know, I'm always just struck by the fact that here he is, you know, an omnipotent God that decides to shrink himself down into this little teeny tiny form that is absolutely dependent upon the human beings at that point in time, dependent upon Mary and Joseph to, you know, to take care of it all. And when I think about how God shrunk himself down in that way, that's amazing to me. Yeah.
I thought of that question because talking about the gifts that we have to give, and I think my favorite part is the three wise men who they brought something special, but it was all they had, right? And to be willing to share and honor in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that, I mean, you know, some of the gifts that I cherish the most in life are the ones where people just went, and I mean, a lot of times they weren't Christmas, they weren't birthday, but it was just somebody who said, you know, I'm going to give you, I'll give you a perfect example. Several weeks ago, I was with a crew that we often get together around Halloween time. My house wasn't big enough to host everybody, so these are people from Cape Girardeau and St. Louis, and everybody's coming together, and we wanted to responsibly distance and to do those things. And so one of the folks has a lake house, and we went to the lake house, and so we were all there. But the great room was great enough to actually host us all, and it was beautiful outside too. So we were inside and outside and doing our thing, and we had these conversations, you know, that were well spaced, and you know, we stayed masked even when we were in the house together, and it was great. But in the middle of that, one of the people just brought me this, said it was, usually it's, you know, kind of your like host gift, but I know you're not hosting, but she said, I saw this a while back and I just thought of you and I really wanted you to have, and it's a charcuterie board. And it's beautiful. It's all handmade with wood and everything. And it's just like, I mean, you know, and it's just delightful. And it wasn't Christmas and it wasn't, you know, anything in terms of those, but it was just simply a gift that says, when I saw this, I thought of you. And I think of these times that we spend together, and then that was that. And so I love it. You know, I haven't even put it away. I haven't found a place where it's going to live yet because I want it out so I can keep looking at it.
Right. And I think that's a big part of it too. Truly that cycle of giving and receiving. Yeah, and
Yeah.
the joy for her in being able to give.
Without a doubt,
Yeah.
without a doubt. So when you have folks who come to you and say, I am all wigged out about these holidays, where do you start with them? Because I mean, in some ways, this is like everybody's chance to get coached via TV,
There you go. There you go.
know, without
Yeah.
necessarily having to make an appointment. So what are some of the things we need to like look toward and aim toward if we're going to maybe take some of the stress out of the holidays for ourselves?
Well, I start by going back to the past. What were some of those favorite times as a child, if they were pleasant? And a lot of times, frankly, they're not.
Sometimes
for
they weren't,
people,
yeah.
right? And then how can we pull forth from that time to carry that energy? Not so much the tradition, but the feeling and the energy behind that period, you know? Were you feeling loved? Were you feeling peaceful? Were you feeling joy? What was happening when those feelings, good feelings, were prevalent, right?
Yeah.
And then how can we recreate that in this time? Well, I don't know if we can, because we've got to get in the car and drive up to Kansas City and be with the family. No, you can make the time. You can find a way if that's what's important
If
to you.
that's what you want to do. Or, I mean, you know, and again, some people are making the choice this year that says, no, we want to make a choice to, you know, since there's so much, you know, infection and things like that. I mean,
Yes.
you know, Kansas City just went under, you
That's
know,
right.
recently
That's
shut down,
right.
you know,
Yes.
a stronger shutdown. I think they're just trying to get that virus, again, tamped down and a little bit more controlled. And so, if
And I
it's not
love-
going to be the traditional, you know, around the Thanksgiving table,
yeah.
or if it's not going to be the around the Christmas table or Christmas tree, what are you going to do instead? You know, and I like that. I like that spending the hour, you
Yes,
know,
yes,
conversing,
right,
doing those
right.
things. Those are great. Those are great things. But how are we going to honor what we really want to make sure we underscore it, and at the
Yes.
same time do it in a way that's going to keep everybody safe and healthy and all
Yes.
those things.
So I think that involves a family meeting, right? So we get the kids involved. We said, what is it that you would love to do? I would just love it if we could all color together. I would just love it if we could play one of our favorite board games. I'd be happy. That's enough, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times for the parents who are putting the pressure to make it that Norman Rockwell experience, if we stop and listen to the little child, right, we can often get some relief that way.
I chuckle. I'm thinking about some of my friends that I knew out in the Piedmont area, and when I was pastor out there 1,000 years ago, and the big thing there was always they were big game players, and they still played them. And so I just had one of their weddings, you know, a couple of years ago, and again, you know, those nights before we, you know, the wedding and all that stuff, we were just sitting around playing games. And one of them actually grew up to be a game designer for that reason. He loves the games, loves the whole process of everybody being together and playing hard to win and doing their thing. And it was just, you know, it's just how do they capture some of that and to do some of that and manage to, yeah. It is, and that's a big part of their family gatherings all the time.
Yes.
You know, they're a mess otherwise, but you know, but it's a big part of their family gatherings. My guest this morning is Ann Leach. Ann is a life coach, and we've been talking a little bit about you know, how we want to aim toward the holidays. And so after the quick break, we're going to be right back, and we'll talk a little bit more about some other strategies as to how we can make our holiday time a little less stressful. So we'll be right back after a quick break.
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
Well, again, thanks for being with us again this morning. My guest, Ann Leach, life coach, is coaching us up this morning about how we might survive the holidays with a little less stress. So, Ann, we talked about, first of all, saying what do we want out of the holidays?
Yes.
Okay, so that's, I think that is an important thing to say. You know, can we name that? Can it be? What happens when some of the things we want aren't going to be possible? What do we do then?
Right, right. So then we have to look at, how do I want to feel? You know, and a lot of times when I ask that question of people, they're like, well, I don't know. I mean, it's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving. We're supposed to feel joyful and grateful and all of that. But you get to decide that. And so we start with, well, how don't you want to feel? well, I know I don't want to be stressed. I know I don't want to be cranky around the kids. I know that I don't want to be exhausted, right? My mother told the story of almost getting divorced over the Barbie dream house, putting that
Your
together
Barbie
at
dream
2
house?
in the morning. Yeah,
Ooh,
so,
okay.
so we know that we don't want arguments and fighting. So that gives us the clarity then to look at, okay, if I don't want that, what do I want? And what action step can I take to move toward that feeling? Okay.
So can you give me an example?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking one of the actions might be if I don't want to feel stressed or cranky, I got to be honest, it's my Aunt Lois who is kind of throwing the wrong log on the fire, And we always put up with her because she is part of the family. She was a connection to my dad, but she's not the most joyful person to be around, And so maybe I know that I don't want to spend my entire visit with her if I were able to have one, given these conditions. So what would I be willing to do out of respect for my dad, out of respect for that family connection? I could make a point to have a cup of tea with her in a corner of the room and spend about 30 minutes in conversation. But then I can tell myself,
I've done my
I
30
did
minutes.
that part.
Yeah.
Now I can go play with the little kids. I can go listen
Yeah.
to some music. So sometimes giving yourself a time limit, a boundary, can be a way to remind yourself that I am going to make it through this.
Well,
right?
and that there are multiple things that you want to accomplish. I mean, you
Absolutely,
do want to,
yes.
yes, you do want to honor Aunt Lois.
And it's like those friends and family that are able to travel safely. If I don't get to see them all the time, I definitely want to make them a priority. Right?
Yeah.
And so that might involve a conversation before the gathering actually happens with the family I get to see frequently to say, you know what, we hardly ever get to see this person. I really want to make it a priority to spend a chunk of time with them.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean I don't love you, but
That's right, yes.
Doesn't mean I don't love you, but
So
I want to do this. I'm going to put this in a way that is going to be helpful.
Yeah.
What about that exhaustion thing? How do you help people? How do you help people with because some people just get exhausted really easy.
Yes.
And other people, just go and go and go and never doesn't seem to
That's
bother them.
right. The exhaustion is huge. The overwhelm is huge. And it's probably the number one piece of advice that the majority of us are not very good at, and that's in asking for help, right? So how can we engage the entire family, friends, to participate and do their part? And again, the kids, they have so much to offer. They would be happy to color some wrapping paper, and let them be in charge of taping up that gift. It's not going to be perfect, but so what?
Yeah, it really, it's kind of like, when I first started learning how to wrap packages, the joke is that I used so much tape that there was more tape than paper. Oh, well.
It happens.
I became the family wrapper, by the end of all that,
Right.
Right. But at that point in time, they were just kind of, and I had one sister-in-law who my only sister-in-law, but I will say that it just, I wrapped her packages with a lot more tape just to make sure, because she was the one that wanted to take it apart perfectly and slowly and do the whole thing.
Yes.
And so I really made it fun for her, by wrapping them that way.
That's
so
a
it
good
was a joke,
reframe.
and she'd laugh, and we'd go on about it. But it was just like, it was a special little joke between the two of us. So
You called yourself the holiday wrapper. That would be a good side gig for you.
Yep, there you go. Not anymore. But trust me. Again, it's so strange, when your immediate family's all gone. It becomes it's kind of, instead of distress, it's eustress. It's like not enough.
That's
It's
exactly
like, whoa. It used to be, I'll get a rush and do this, and I'd celebrate Christmas, and then I'd go celebrate my anniversary with my family. It's 2 days after Christmas. So it's like, okay, well, when that suddenly was gone, I had to replace it with other traditions. I had to replace it with other, ways to go about, spending that time and doing all those things.
I'll tell you a funny story. I'm an only child. My mom was an only child. My dad died when I was 8, And so it was just my mom, her mother, my grandmother, and me for many, many years, and some assorted cousins on her side of the family. Because of my school schedule and such, we couldn't travel to Virginia, where Aunt Lois was, and my dad's side of the family. And after Mom died, she died when I was like 31, I believe, of lung cancer. And so after she died, that first Christmas, I thought, I have to carry on all the family traditions, right? I have to make the dinner for these assorted elderly cousins. I have to send Christmas cards to her friends because they might not know yet of her passing. I need to send cards to my friends. I just ran myself ragged. And that next year, I thought, I am not doing that. I just want to have a nice brunch with maybe some other single friends that don't have family close by. And so I invited 6 women over for a champagne brunch. They thought it was a great idea. The night before, I'm cleaning the house, and it occurs to me, I am the only one they have in common. None of the other ones knew each other. So the next year, I thought, I get it spiritually, I do my religious practice, but I'm just going to make it a day for me at that point.
Yeah. And again, it's okay to change some of those traditions too. If something's not working, it's okay to change it.
Right.
You know,
right.
And I think that sometimes we've got to acknowledge that sometimes going. I know some of my cousins, had that thing where they were trying to hit, both sides of the family on Christmas, on the same day, blah, 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 blah. And finally, the older they got, and they just said, okay, look, you guys get this day, and you guys get this day, and this is what we're going to do, but we can't do it because it's just not good for the kids. I mean, the kids were all...
of course,
because they were being dragged around and they didn't get a chance to play with any of the stuff they wanted to play with, and and then they were getting shoved in a car, and no, you can't take that with you, and I was like, oh Lord.
Okay, so I have a free quote for you. You can quote me on this one. You can eat turkey any day of the year.
True enough. True enough. Turkey was always Thanksgiving. Christmas was always something different.
Ham, we had ham.
We had most of the time we would have ham too. Yeah. And again, we varied it a little bit, but every once in a while, Mom would just be in the mood for it. She said, "How about a roast?" Okay, whatever. But but we varied Christmas. Now we did have a set Christmas menu for not Christmas Day, but Christmas Eve.
Yes. Oh yes.
Christmas Eve we had the same stuff because it was ham and potato salad and also a turkey roll.
Huh. Okay.
Interestingly enough, back when they first started making turkey rolls,
right, I remember.
Our family thought those were the coolest things, so we wanted to bring in the turkey roll. Now I look at the turkey roll and go, But at that point in time, we did it because we did it between the masses.
Yes. Okay.
So it was kind of like, so I'd sing one mass and then we'd go back. We'd come home, we'd have Christmas Eve, do all the thing, the big dinner and everything, and then we'd go back and do midnight again. So it was like.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it was interesting. So but you can. I eat that meal whenever I want a special time to think about not the turkey roll, but the ham and the potato salad. I still do a lot when I want to think about festive moments and times.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I like it. Turkey. You can eat turkey any day of the year.
Yeah.
It's good. I like it.
We put so much pressure on ourselves. Yeah.
Well, and again, I think that was what we were talking about in terms of how do we help everybody to break out from some of that stuff. I mean, if it's something that you really want and you want to prioritize that, that's fine. But every tradition doesn't necessarily have to meet, have to be valued the same amount in the hierarchy of our needs. It's just like, well, I like that, but I'd rather do this.
Yes. Yes. Now, do we have time for one more question?
We got a couple, yeah.
Okay, because
You're going to ask me another question?
I would love to get your opinion.
You interviewed me about as much during this show as I've interviewed you, but go ahead.
I know, but you're such an interesting person, and I appreciate your thoughts.
I know a lot of people are saying, he's interesting, all right. But go ahead.
I am curious as to your take on the fact that so many people were decorating for Christmas even before Thanksgiving. What is your sense of that?
In a couple weeks, we're going to have a show with Aaron Brown, and we're going to be talking about some of that about the Christmas stuff. And Aaron knows that I'm a big one for saying, let's do all the seasons, but let's take each one of them for their flavor. Part of the problem I see culturally for us, we never decorated for Christmas until it was close to Christmas. So in other words, we decorated for Advent, but that's a different season. It's a preparation time for Christmas. So I don't have a problem when people start decorating Christmas, for Christmas around the Advent time, because at least I got to say that before Advent, it really is a little strange for me. I don't think I can, hold back the ocean that is the commercialization of Christmas that's occurred. And I certainly don't want to be a Scrooge. I got friends who love the lights and love to do that whole thing. But I at least think it ought to wait until Thanksgiving, and usually the weekend after Thanksgiving, which is then, the first Sunday of Advent for us. And that's a waiting time. So it's a totally different thing. I mean, what I love now is that in the middle of all that, you've got a little quiet that goes with it. And you get the time to contemplate and do those things. But see, then for us, then the Christmas is 12 days. So we don't take it all down the day after Christmas. You leave it up until at least the 6th of January, which is Epiphany. So that's my, that's just
I'm just wondering if the pandemic might have something to
I think I've been doing it forever. At any rate, my guest this morning, Ann Leach. Ann's a life coach and trying to talk about the stress of the season. So we're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute. Don't go away.
Hi, I'm Karen Brown. Last year, my sister was diagnosed with ovarian stage 3C cancer in her early 40s. As a mother of 2 beautiful children, I didn't think twice about undergoing genetic testing here at Mercy. Even though I have grandparents and an uncle battle cancer, seeing a genetic counselor wasn't something that ever crossed my mind until my sister's results showed that she was BRCA2 positive.
We've come a long way, especially in about the last 5 years. Genetic testing can pinpoint the cancers that you are at highest risk for in order to detect them earlier or, if possible, prevent them.
My genetic counselor at Mercy, Robin, took note of my family health history and answered all of my questions. She even suggested my brother get tested. Robin said if he tested positive, he may be more likely to be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and that is what I lost my uncle to.
There are many other types of cancer that are also possibly hereditary, such as colorectal cancers, pancreatic cancers.
I honestly was prepared to hear that I was positive, but indeed I was negative. And what a huge relief that was, not only to me, but to my family, to know I wasn't at a great risk of developing breast or ovarian cancer.
Diet, lifestyle choices such as smoking or drinking all contribute to our risk for cancer. Genetic testing is taking just kind of one piece of that. Talk to your primary care doctor or your OBGYN and ask for a referral to a genetic counselor.
Well, again, we thank you for joining us this morning. Again, my guest, Ann Leach, we're talking about how do we survive the stress of the holiday season. All I'm going to say to you is that if you have expectations that everything is going to be perfect, then you're probably going to be a little bit disappointed. But if you realize that Christmas and the holidays, like any other time of the year, are going to be the regular roller coaster ride with your family and your friends, and because of your life being the way that it is, you're going to have a whole lot better chance of being able to manage the ride. So let's rethink about things, let's talk about things, let's aim the right way, and let's be good to each other. I'll see you next week, next Sunday at Faith in Our Hometown. God bless.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.